Well, is the GOP sleeping or what when it comes to constitutional violations and the president saying the Constitution doesn't apply to him? Yeah, how about that? I'm here. I'm Melba Pearson, the resident legal diva, hanging out with Dina Doll, and we are going to dive into this foolishness. So, we've noticed that the silence is deafening. We have not heard from Republican lawmakers in response to the statement that the president made over the course of the last few days, where he was saying that the Constitution doesn't apply to him or that he does not need to uphold the Constitution. Now, if it had been any other president, let's say, President Obama, do you think there would have been this much silence? Yeah. But somehow the GOP is twisting themselves sideways to either say, A, we didn't hear what we heard, or B, he didn't really mean it, or C, they have no power to do anything about the president literally ignoring the Constitution, despite this being the party that claims the Constitution is everything and that it is their mandate to follow the Constitution to the letter, and always accuses other folks of not being respectful of the Constitution. So it's very interesting to see now that the GOP is silent and not pushing back, much like in the first term we saw. And Dina, tell me your thoughts on this. I feel like in the first administration, the GOP was a little bit more vocal. You heard from Senator Romney. You heard from, different folks, different lawmakers, both on the congressional level and on the Senate level, who push back more. But it seems like it's just crickets this go round. Is it me or?
Well, they saw what happened with Romney, right? Let's not be frank. But here's the thing: is Rolling Stone, which I have come to think is doing almost one of the best investigative reporting. We can't rely, right, on the mainstream, most of those mainstream media that are just scared and capitulating and paying Trump. Rolling Stone has gotten some great articles, and they've reached out to all 53 Republican senators and asked them what they thought about Trump saying, "I don't know," when he was asked specifically by the reporter if he had a duty to uphold the Constitution. And they received zero response. That means even the Collins, the Murkowskis, the ones who maybe have sometimes done a vote that has helped the Democratic cause, said nothing. They couldn't comment on that at all. That seems to me, Melba, the easiest question you could ever answer when your job is to be a public servant in this country. And we are governed by one document, the Constitution, which Republicans like to throw in our face at every chance when we talk about the fact that our school children are getting massacred by machine guns. Then all of a sudden, this Constitution means a lot. But now, come on. Trump even put it packaged with the Bible, but all of a sudden he doesn't know if it's important. And we know Trump is depraved. I've given up on him doing the right thing. But all 53 GOP senators, we're doing this video because they need to be held accountable. They have constituents. And it's even worse when it's senators and not representatives, because representatives get reelected every 2 years. So they're constantly in campaign mode, right? You expect them to kind of always be speaking to in campaign talk. But senators, they have a lot more, they have a lot more ability to make a vote that is ethically or morally right, because their next campaign might not be for another 5 years, right? Who's going to remember? But this evidently was a question that they felt was too dangerous to answer.
Which is sad to me because, again, we're seeing the groundswell where the Republicans are now not showing up to town halls, not speaking to their constituents. It's Democrats who are now going into Republican jurisdictions, Republican districts, to hold town halls because their Republican counterparts refuse to do so. So it's the kind of thing that if you told the people, listen, I believe in the Constitution. That's what you elected me to do, is to, uphold, protect the Constitution and make laws consistent with the Constitution. What the president is doing is against the Constitution. There's a way to thread the message so it could be like, I support the president, again, GOP lawmaker speaking, but I support the Constitution above all, country above party, whatever the case may be. There is a pathway for Republicans of good conscience to be able to explain to their constituents why they have to support the Constitution and why they are not co-signing the president's message that the Constitution is irrelevant, basically, and they could still get reelected. Because you just see so many, folks, again, they're looking at the tariffs, they're looking at the cost of eggs is still high, that milk is going up, they're looking that their 401k is on and their pension's on a roller coaster because the markets are all over the place. So there's so much data and studies already being done about people that were his base in so many ways now moving away from that and feeling like they have less confidence in the economy, that they're not happy about the way things are going. Republicans should be capitalizing on that and using that opportunity to share the message of, no, we're still about law and order, we're still about the Constitution, reelect me, rather than saying absolutely nothing and making it clear that you've rolled over, you're playing dead, and you could give a crap about our democracy, about what the rule of law, what our Constitution means, what the fact that our country is literally tied to the Constitution, and these tenets were all created for a reason. They weren't just pulled out of the sky. There were literal things that happened when we were founded as a country, when we left the crown and the Constitution was put in place to be able to address those past wrongs. And as we move forward as a country, address other wrongs. But again, the GOP, I think, is missing out on a huge opportunity here. And it's really a sad state of affairs of where we are.
I mean, they're missing out on an opportunity and they're gaslighting us on a grand scale, insulting the American intelligence for acting as if we're not seeing and hearing what we're hearing. Listen to what just one congressman, Representative Rich McCormick, had to say when he was asked what he thought about Trump saying he didn't know he was going to uphold the Constitution.
Thanks. So the president said he doesn't know when asked if everyone in the U.S. deserves due process and if he needs to uphold the Constitution. Does that concern you?
No, I don't think the president ever inferred that he didn't want to uphold the Constitution of the United States. He swore that oath when he took office. He said very specifically, like, I got great lawyers. I'm going to make sure that we agree with the Supreme Court ruling, which means that the Supreme Court ruling, their entire job is to make sure that something's constitutional. When they rule on it and they say it is or isn't constitutional, they will abide by that, which means he basically said, we'll follow whatever they deem is constitutional.
Isn't the Constitution constitutional, though? I mean, he was being asked about the Constitution, not the interpretation of the Constitution. Sure, but the Constitution,
just like the Bible, a lot of people like to interpret, including lawyers, especially lawyers. As a matter of fact, we've seen that very frustratingly applied historically.
So he tried to tell us the usual thing. This happened on the campaign trail, that Trump wasn't saying what he was saying. He didn't mean what he meant. We're past that point. The stuff that Trump has said is far worse than anything he ever promised. So there's their answer to, we have somebody who calls himself a king, tries to change birthright citizenship. He has disregard for the Constitution. He showed it in a multitude of ways. And their answer is completely to gaslight us.
Yeah. Yeah, just shameful. And I really hope that people see past this and they teach all of these lawmakers a lesson, because you know what? Who hires and fires? It's the people. Mm-hmm. We hire and fire at the ballot box. And so the only way to hold these lawmakers accountable and to stop the gaslighting and to force them to be authentic and true to what we elected them for, true to the Constitution, true to the rule of law, is to send them packing. Send them packing, let them figure out their life somewhere else, let them pick up the Constitution and read it on their own time. But while you're on the government salary, which is my tax dollars, you fit to follow the Constitution. And if you're not going to do it, then you need to find something else to do. And I'm going to help you along your way come November. And that's how we all need to be thinking. No matter what party you're from, you got to get to the point where it's country over party. Because we're in danger zone, y'all. We're in danger zone.
Absolutely. And that's why the emphasis on GOP's complicit, they are complicit with Trump is so important. The conversation needs to get even bigger than Trump, because Trump, we know, is a threat to our democracy, but the GOP is too. And we can't be so focused on Trump that we give them a pass. That's why the fact that Rolling Stone put them all on the record is so important. And the fact that it was just the Rolling Stone that did that shows the state of our media not having the ability to check Trump yet again. That's why, thankfully, here on Legal AF, we are doing that. Free subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And last words, Melba, because I know you kicked us off here.
I mean, just that again, that's what the mid-year elections are for. That's why elections have consequences, and you have to vote in every single election, because again, you can't have a situation where, whether it be a party or a particular elected official, is taking the folks for granted. And right now, by their silence, they're taking us for granted. They're taking their jobs for granted. And the only way to change that narrative is for all of us to go out to the polls in droves come November 2026, when it's the midterms, and we send them all packing. Because listen, we can't do anything about the presidency for another 3.5 years if we make it. But we can do something at the midterm elections, where we can, these people who are complicit, we send them all packing. So.
Yeah, and we could do something about the presidency once we have Congress. I mean, I think there's a real possibility of him getting impeached and even convicted if we got enough senators. So there's hope, but all of it depends on the midterms for sure.
Agreed.
I'm Michael Popak, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of Midas Touch's Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popak Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popak Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event, by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states, and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popak Firm today at 1-877-POPAK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopakfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popak Firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way.